So for the last 8 years, I've had two screens on my work setup. This is where I do all the production for this channel, and I firmly believe that multiple displays can actually boost overall productivity. So when Asus reached out and told me that their new Zenbook Duo can do that on the go, anywhere, I was actually blown away. And I've been using the Zenbook Duo for the last 2 weeks as my main laptop, and in this video, I want to share my experience with you guys. Should be a fun video, stick around till the end, and let's get started. Now, as always, I want to start off this review by talking about the design and build quality. And at first glance, the Zenbook Duo has a very traditional laptop design. It looks like any other laptop. It's actually when you open up the lid and then lift the keyboard and then the second display turns on, you realize that this is not your everyday run-of-the-mill laptop. And I'm glad that Asus was able to keep the normal laptop functionality. There is no compromise. Like if you don't want to use the second screen, this is still a very solid laptop just with the physical keyboard and the single screen. In terms of build quality, the laptop is made out of magnesium and it feels really solid. The display assembly is well put together. It feels sturdy. It does not have any creaking or flexing. I did notice that there is significant amount of display wobble when you touch the screen, and since this is a touch screen, you will be doing that quite often. But overall, there is little to no flex on the top panel. The bottom panel is really solid with the kickstand, which we'll talk about in a bit. And on the inside, this keyboard has some really strong magnets, and it's also well put together. Like it's a very thin keyboard. It's like 5.3 millimeters in terms of thickness, but it feels really solid. It does not feel, flimsy. And it just sits in place. It does not move. There's actually little rivets for it to do that. And as I said, if you use it like a normal laptop, there is no compromise. And the displays are protected by Corning's Gorilla Glass, which is very similar to what you would have on your smartphone. So you don't really have to worry about that either. Now, since this laptop has this soft touch, grippy coating all over it, it does catch a lot of fingerprint. Like I love this color and how it looks. It looks very premium. It feels very premium, but you'll have to clean it every now and then to, keep it really nice and pristine. So when you're actually using it, the inside of the laptop, the keyboard area, the trackpad area, the top does get covered in fingerprints. So I also wanted to mention that. And in terms of dimensions and weight, the Zenbook Duo has a slightly taller Z height, so it is taller compared to other thin-in lights on the market. So this is actually 19.9 millimeters thick with the keyboard on and 14.6 millimeters thick without the keyboard, but I would always suggest you use it with the keyboard on to protect the displays. And the keyboard itself is 5.3 millimeters. And talking about weight, it's 1.35 kilograms without the keyboard and 1.65 kilograms with the keyboard, which is not really heavy considering it has two displays. Very easy to carry around. You can throw it in your backpack without any issues, and you can trust the build quality on this one. It can take some beating, just be careful with the displays. And the build quality of the keyboard itself is really nice. It's thin and made out of plastic, can be used externally like a Bluetooth keyboard, but it's got this soft foam-like surface on the bottom so it doesn't scratch the display. It's not really thick, but overall I like this quality. It's got a USB Type-C port to charge the physical keyboard in case you run out of battery on the laptop, and there is a button here to turn off the Bluetooth pairing, and it's got decent battery life, 2 days from a full charge. And when it's on the pogo pins like attached to the laptop, it's always charging, and it's most of the time going to be at 100%. So that's that. Now in terms of ports on the Zenbook Duo, on the left side you have a USB 3.2 Gen 1 Type A port. Next to that are two USB Type-C Thunderbolt 4 ports. These do support DisplayPort as well as power delivery, so you can get display output as well as charge the laptop. There is an air exhaust. Now moving on to the right side, you have another air exhaust a combo audio jack. It accepts both microphones and headphones, and a full-size HDMI 2.1 port. Now, I would have loved to see another USB Type A port and a full-size SD card reader. I don't see where they could have, put the USB port, but a SD card reader was definitely possible. But again, it's pretty decent I/O for a dual screen laptop. Talking about that kickstand, it is rock solid. It's made out of metal and has a really high quality hinge, and it's going to be very useful when you put this laptop in that dual display configuration, when you have one display on top of the other, or if you decide to flip it and use the laptop in the portrait desktop mode. But let's say you don't want to do any of that. This kickstand allows for a lot of variation, so it's like a stand that is always attached to your laptop, and it fixes a lot of things. First, it gives you an ergonomic using position for your laptop, and it also fixes the webcam angle. Like, webcam angles on laptops have been really bad, but this actually fixes it since it brings the laptop to eye level. And overall, I love this kickstand. Now, quickly jumping inside the laptop and talking about the keyboard and trackpad, the Zenbook Duo actually has two keyboards. One is this physical keyboard and trackpad that you can attach and then take off, and the other is actually a virtual keyboard that you can bring up by tapping 6 fingers. We'll talk about the virtual one in a bit, but I was really concerned about the physical keyboard on the Zenbook Duo. I thought it was going to be a mediocre experience, but boy, was I wrong. I was surprised. This keyboard actually feels really good. It's one of the best keyboards that I've tried on any laptop so far. Even though this is detachable, it's built really well. It feels very solid. It's got pretty good battery life. You can use it for 2 days without any issues, and it can be charged always. Like, when it's connected to the laptop, it's always charging. And it also has a USB Type-C port in case the laptop runs out of power and you still want to charge the keyboard. So that's that. And it also has a switch to turn on and turn off the Bluetooth. It could be used like this when it's attached to the laptop, and that uses the pogo pins connection. But when you take it off, it uses Bluetooth. So that's that. And overall, this keyboard is pretty nice. It's got big keys that are well spaced out. You are missing out on the number row here, but hey, this is a compact 14-inch layout, so that's to be expected. But you have a dedicated function row with quick shortcuts for media controls and everyday tasks like brightness and muting the microphone and stuff like that. It also has 3 levels of brightness, and you can turn it off. There's no RGB here, but this is not a gaming laptop, so I wasn't expecting that anyway. And the trackpad is also really nice. It's got silent clicks. It's a decent size for a 14-inch laptop. It's a glass-like surface. It's very smooth, very accurate, very precise, supports all the gestures and stuff. And I honestly love the silent clicks because I always prefer silent clicks on the keyboard as well as the trackpad, because you don't want to be annoying people and disturbing people around you, especially when you're working in cafes or workspaces. So that's that. And yeah, overall, typing on this keyboard was a lot of fun. It's got good feedback, good travel, and even if you're typing for really long time, this is going to be a lot of fun. Now, talking about the virtual keyboard, as I said, you can tap 6 fingers on the screen to bring it up, and there is a bunch of functionality here. You can customize it. Now, talking about using this virtual keyboard, there is a learning curve to it. Like, you have to get used to it because there's no physical feedback. There's nothing that you're really interacting with, and I wish it had haptic feedback or some sort of vibration. All there is this click sound that you would get on your smartphone. So you have to take some time to get used to it, but there is a bunch of functionality here. Like, you can change the size of the trackpad, you can make it big or small. You also have different layouts. You can swipe 6 fingers down to convert it into a half-size keyboard where it takes little less space, and you can have other windows on top, or you can bring up utilities. You can also customize this keyboard as a whole. You can change the language format. You can have a dedicated media row with some media controls and other shortcuts. And there is a dedicated emoji button, which I really like. It could be very useful if you're texting or just writing stuff. And there is a bunch of emojis. Basically anything that you can think of is here, and I really like this implementation. Now, talking about the speakers, the Zenbook Duo has 2 speakers which are bottom firing. They're Dolby Atmos certified and they're tuned by Harman Kardon, one of my favorite sound companies. And these speakers are actually really good. Like, I wasn't expecting this laptop to have such good speakers. They get really loud, there's really good clarity. They do lack, some bass. I wish there was more bass here. But if you're listening to podcast or if you're listening to vocals, the vocals are really clear. Like, the sound that comes out of this laptop is really rich, and overall it was a very enjoyable experience. Like, you can actually watch videos and movies and have a good time on this laptop even if you're not using headphones. And here is a speaker test for you guys. Now, since the Zenbook Duo is an Intel Evo laptop, it does have a full HD IR webcam, and you can use this to sign into the laptop using Windows Hello. And talking about the quality, here's a webcam test for you guys. So this is a webcam test of the Asus Zenbook Duo 2024, and actually this webcam looks really good. It is an IR camera, so you can use it to sign into the laptop as well using Windows Hello. And there is a LED that's next to the camera towards the left that's going to glow to let you know that yes, the camera is on and recording. Also, since this is an Intel Evo laptop, you have some effects inside the camera app. Things like background blur, eye contact. You can also turn on automatic framing if you're moving around too much. And yeah, all of this is really useful. This is how the background blur looks. Does a very good job. Makes your meetings look more professional if you have a lot of stuff going on in the background. And also noise cancellation in the microphone. So you guys let me know what the video quality and the audio quality is like in the comments down below. And that's the webcam test. Alright, it's about time I talk about the thing that you are all here for, and it's that display, or displays in this case. The Zenbook Duo has two 14-inch Full HD Plus OLED panels, and these are touchscreens, so you can do things with your fingers, and it also supports the stylus that's included with this laptop. That's the Asus Pen 2.0. We'll talk about that in a bit. The display is protected by Corning's Gorilla Glass, and get ready, I'm going to hit you with some specs and numbers. It's got Dolby Vision support, Display HDR True Black 500, a 1,000:1 contrast ratio, 500 nits of peak brightness. It covers 100% of the DCI-P3 color space. It's a 60Hz panel with 91% screen to body ratio, so the side bezels are really thin and the top and bottom bezels are also very minimal. It's a 60Hz panel and a 16:10 aspect ratio, so you have extra vertical real estate. If you're scrolling through web pages or documents, you're going to see more content. And since this is geared towards working professionals and students and content creators, that's actually very useful to have that taller aspect ratio. And yeah, overall specs and numbers aside, the touch response was really good. It behaves well when there's a stylus being used. And just watching videos, playing games, doing work stuff is a lot of fun. It gets plenty bright. I was able to use it indoors. You can use it in well-lit spaces like offices or cafes. I wouldn't suggest you use it outdoors, but overall, it's a good experience. Sharpness is good, inky blacks, good contrast. That's to be expected with OLED displays. They're very battery efficient as well. And there is a version which gets you 3K in terms of the resolution and 120Hz refresh rate, but it's not available in India yet. But hey, the displays on the Zenbook Duo are amazing. Now, having two displays on a laptop is cool, but what's more important is to have dedicated, software and tools to make use of those two displays, to make use of this extra space and get the, highest potential out of it. And I want to start off with the Screen Expert widget, which Asus has included. And this allows you to do a bunch of things. For starters, you can change the brightest of the displays individually or together, so you can have them on different brightness levels. You also have a feature where you can turn off the second display. You can check the battery life of the physical keyboard, and you can customize this widget. You can have different stuff here if you wanted to. You can also, turn off rotation, mute the microphone. And there is a sharing mode, and sharing mode is a genius feature in my opinion. So you have to put your laptop in this 180-degree angle, and let's say someone is sitting in front of you and you want to share a web page or a presentation. You put the laptop in sharing mode and it flips and mirrors the screen, so they see exactly what you see and they can interact and touch the laptop, use it just like you can, which is very useful. And of course, there is a bunch of ways to use this laptop. First, you can use it with the keyboard, the physical keyboard, like a normal, traditional laptop. Then you can remove the physical keyboard and you're entering in this dual display, kind of configuration. Now, as I said, you can tap 6 fingers, bring up the keyboard and use it like that. You can also open up the kickstand and go into the dual display configuration, which is very similar to what you would have on a desktop where one monitor is on top of another. And these displays can be used as one or separate displays. So you can extend them, but you can also have a single window or app expand across 2 screens, which is very useful, where you're actually making use of the 2 displays. And if you are someone who writes a lot or is scrolling through a lot of web pages or documents, you can put the Zenbook Duo in a portrait orientation where you have more vertical real estate. So if you're scrolling through documents or web pages, this is going to be very useful. So that's a bunch of ways to use the laptop. Now, again, coming back to the virtual keyboard, that's cool. But what's cooler is the utilities app. You can have different utilities depending on the app that you're using. For example, let's say you're in Edge and you swipe down 6 fingers and enable utilities. It's going to give you stuff like cut, copy, paste, new tab, back and forward right here. But if you're in Adobe Premiere Pro or DaVinci Resolve, you're going to get specific controls for that video editing app. Ripple edit, trim, cut to right, cut to left. And those dials and sliders are very useful. I edited some videos on this laptop. It was a lot of fun. With a mouse and keyboard or with just this physical keyboard and trackpad, it will increase your productivity by a lot. You can also bring up utilities in other apps like Microsoft Office, Photoshop, Lightroom. You can customize these utilities and dials. Imagination is the limit here. It's a very cool feature, good implementation. I really like it. Also, another thing I wanted to mention was task groups. So you can couple apps and save task groups. For example, let's say you use Google Chrome and Notepad a lot for writing stuff. You can customize a layout where you have Google Chrome on the left and Notepad on the right in a portrait orientation, and you can save it. And then at one click, both the apps will open together, which is really nice. And you can have a bunch of task groups for your most used, couple apps where you use 2 apps together. Again, really good implementation. All I'm trying to say is Asus has done stuff to make sure that you get the most out of these 2 displays. Awesome stuff. All right, let's talk performance. And the Zenbook Duo actually has really top-notch hardware for 2024 standards. It's powered by Intel's latest Core Ultra processors, and you can get different variants. The specific model I have here is powered by Intel's Core Ultra 9 185H CPU, which is their flagship, but you can get a Core Ultra 5 and Ultra 7. But the Ultra 9 185H is a 16-core 22-thread CPU, and out of which 6 are performance cores, 8 are efficiency cores, and 2 are low-power efficiency cores. There's also Intel R graphics built in, and this laptop has a dedicated NPU, which is a neural processing unit. So every time you're doing an AI related task, it's going to be done by the NPU, and it's going to try to accelerate that using Intel's AI Boost technology. For example, blurring the background in the webcam or using the Copilot app, which is integrated into Windows 11. This laptop can be configured with up to 32 gigabytes of LPDDR5X RAM with 7467 megahertz in terms of the speed. And this is onboard memory. It's soldered on. You can't upgrade it later. There's also a 16 gigabyte model available. You can get it with up to 2 terabytes of PCI Gen 4 NVMe M.2 storage. My model has 1 terabyte. And talking about the SSD, I got very decent read and write speeds considering the Gen 4 standard. And it is powered by a 75 watt-hour battery. In terms of connectivity, you have Wi-Fi 6E, dual band, and Bluetooth 5.3. Overall, all the specs and numbers are on par with the other thin and light notebooks. And specs aside, talking about real-world performance, I started my testing with some synthetic benchmarks, so Geekbench 6 and Cinebench 2024, and I did test the Intel R graphics as well, so the results are on your screen, and the numbers were very respectable. Like, they're on par with the other laptops in the market that are powered by Ultra 9 185H, and as I always say, benchmarks don't tell the full story. Talking about real-world performance, the Zenbook Duo has no issues with everyday general productivity. It does not break a sweat with email, browsing, watching videos, coding, using Microsoft Office apps. All of that is fine. It's, doing it really quickly. You can open and close apps really quickly. You can, have a bunch of apps open and switch between them. Multitasking felt really, great on this one. I could have a bunch of tabs open in Edge or Chrome. Again, no hiccups, no lags. And since this laptop has ARC graphics and a Core Ultra 9, I thought, why not, try to push it more? And it is a really capable machine. I tried Valorant at 1080p, high settings, and I was able to get 190 average FPS. And most of the times it was above 200 FPS, which is very respectable for a laptop that does not have a dedicated GPU. And let's say you connect it with an external monitor, or if you get the 120 Hz version, gaming on this could be a lot of fun. And I also wanted to push the laptop even further, so I tried video editing. I used Adobe Premiere Pro, and here are the results. So I started my testing with a 5-minute 4K 60fps clip shot in 10-bit 422 on a Canon R6, and the laptop took 4 minutes 57 seconds to render that. Next up, I tried a 5-minute 1080p clip shot at 50 megabits a second in the Canon 80D, and that was blazing fast. The laptop rendered that in 1 minute 20 seconds. And last but not the least, I tried a Sony a7S III 4K 10-bit 422 clip, and that took 5 minutes 30 seconds because it was an S-Log and I had to apply a LUT. And those are really respectable numbers. Like, the video editing performance in this laptop is really good. Now, when you start layering 4K footage on top of each other, when you have multiple layers, when you have transitions, effects, you're applying LUTs, you have adjustment layers, motion graphics, all of that is gonna push the laptop a lot, and it's gonna slow down. You're gonna have higher render times. You might see some, choppy, playback or laggy timelines. That's gonna happen. But if you're just doing light 1080p or 4K video editing, it's fine. This laptop can handle it. Overall, I had a lot of fun using it. You can also, edit photos in Lightroom. You can edit photos in Photoshop. You can use DaVinci Resolve and get similar numbers or even better. That's really good for color grading. And since it has such color accurate displays, it's going to be a lot of fun to edit videos and photos and do color sensitive work. And the stylus is very useful for, editing photos in Lightroom. Like, this is very precise to move the slider, which you can't do with your finger. And in Photoshop, you can use brushes and other things to just, touch up or mask stuff. Very useful for content creators and graphics designers. And since I mentioned the stylus, let's talk about it. This is the Asus Pen 2.0, and it's a very useful tool. It could come in very handy for a lot of people. Let's say you're a student, you want to, take notes in class, you can use it for that. If you're a, graphics designer, or if you're into doodling, you can use it for that as well. I used a sketching app called Sketchable, and this had no latency. It supports 4096 levels of pressure, comes with 4 different types of tips, and my favorite part about this is it's rechargeable. You lift this cap up and there's a USB Type-C port. Quick 30-minute full charge is going to get you 140 hours of battery backup, which is really good, and you don't have to worry about putting in quadruple A batteries or triple A batteries like other styluses. It has a single button on the back for Bluetooth pairing and 2 other buttons for functions that you can customize. Usually it's the eraser and choosing different tools in the writing app you're using. And it feels really good in the hand, feels very natural, just like a normal pen, and it's built really well as well. So if you are someone who can make use of a stylus, I do recommend getting it with the laptop. And with some selected SKUs, this is pre-included in the box. Alright, now let's talk about thermals and acoustics. I was actually, again, very concerned about the thermal performance of the Zenbook Duo, and I was worried, like, the second display is on top of the logic board where the motherboard and all the other components are, but Asus has taken an interesting approach. They have a graphite sheet between the display and the other components to avoid this display overheating, and it never goes above 40 degrees in terms of the temperature, which is really nice. And there is air intake on the bottom, there is air exhaust on each side, and the laptop does get hot, but it does not thermal throttle. It's very stable, and in terms of numbers, on idle it is around 38 degrees Celsius. When you're really pushing the laptop, I'm talking rendering videos or playing games, it hovers around 75 to 80 degrees Celsius. But in most everyday uses, you're going to be hovering around 65 to 70 degrees. And I ran Prime 95's stress test with small workers, and that got me a max temperature of 90 degrees Celsius. You are never going to hit 90 degrees Celsius with everyday tasks or video editing. It's just a synthetic test to, check the stability of the laptop. So thermals are good. In terms of acoustics, the fan does not really get that loud, so it's not going to annoy anyone around you. It stays pretty quiet. Overall, the laptop is very silent. Like the trackpad, the keyboard, the fan, all of it is actually very silent. As I mentioned, the Zenbook Duo is an Intel Evo laptop, so it has things like instant wake, where it turns on in under 1 second of you opening the lid. It's got a full HD IR webcam. I'll leave a link down below so you guys can learn more about Intel Evo. It's a bunch of requirements that a laptop has to meet. It's all good stuff for content creators and working professionals, like, you know, battery life and camera and performance and stuff like that. Now, talking about battery life, the Zenbook Duo is powered by a 75 watt-hour battery, and I had my doubts here. So first I tested it in this traditional laptop scenario without using the second display with the physical keyboard. It was giving me 10 to 12 hours of battery life with mixed usage, where I'm doing, you know, everyday general stuff, video editing, some gaming, watching movies and stuff like that. And when you start using the second display, the battery life basically becomes half or close to half. So you're going to get 5 to 6 hours or 7 hours tops. Depends on what you're doing, like what kind of tasks you're doing. If you're doing light stuff, it's going to last you longer. But let's say you have the displays at 100% brightness, you're editing videos, you're doing, you know, intensive stuff, then the battery life is going to decrease. But again, the laptop has a fast charger as well. And this is a gallium nitride charger, or a GaN technology. This is the smallest laptop charger I've ever seen. Like, this is smaller than some of the smartphone chargers that you get. It's a USB Type-C to Type-C cable that's included in the box. And yeah, it's got quick charge technology, and you don't have to use this adapter. You can use any adapter that you want, since the USB Type-C ports support power delivery. And overall, I was really impressed with the battery life and charging. This is good battery life for a dual screen laptop. And there you have it. Those are my 2 cents on the Asus Zenbook Duo 2024. I think it's a really nice implementation of the dual display form factor. It's the best one so far. I have been following the Zenbook Duo lineup for a lot of years now. This feels right. This is in the right direction. If you are in the market for something like this, you want to try this dual display form factor, this is your best option. And that's that. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you guys don't miss out on future uploads. Let me know in the comments down below what do you guys think about this dual display technology. What would you do on this laptop? If you have any questions or queries, again, feel free to drop them in the comments down below. I'll leave links in the description if you're interested to buy this laptop, to Amazon US, UK, Canada, and India. Do buy from those links to help the channel out. And I'll leave a link to Asus's official website so you can check out the different variants and configurations, learn more about the laptop. That's pretty much it. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.